Quin Snyder has been with the Utah Jazz for 8 seasons now. Throughout those 8 seasons, he's made the playoffs in 6 of the seasons, the last 6 to be exact. However, throughout those last 6 seasons, all have been with an early playoff exit. He has the win-loss ratio in those playoffs. Obviously, he has 10 more losses than he does have wins. Obviously, the Jazz over the past couple of years, 2021, then this year especially, thought that they were contenders. The front office had believed they had built a team to win a championship. However, the job had not get done. And a reoccurring theme throughout these past couple of seasons has been a recurring issue of the perimeter defense not being solved and no adjustments seemingly being made. I'm sure adjustments have been made, but it certainly doesn't feel like it because in the last couple of seasons, it has been the same exact reason why the Jazz had an early playoff exit. Now, there are tons of rumors coming out, and this is really the first time it has happened. Is Quin Snyder going to leave the Utah Jazz? Our question is it time for the Jazz to let go of Quin Snyder? Quin Snyder's been here for 8 years, given this team a lot of success, but is it time, Blake, to move on from Quin Snyder after these 8 years, which have been good, but they certainly haven't been great?
Yeah, I think you can't really say it better. Good, but not great. They've been so close, so good defensively for so many years, and then it falls apart. All in the year where it should have been the 2 years where we should have won. The defense falls apart. You just saw it. It was hard to watch, man. But Quin Snyder, let's talk about him. Who is this dude? Who is this guy? So this Quin Snyder here graduated from Duke with a law degree, and he played on the basketball team. He's a smart freaking dude. And I think we saw when he was young in this league, obviously coached at Mizzou, not a ton of success. I don't know how he even ended up in the NBA really with his success at Mizzou, but that it happened. So he is here now. He has been a very, very consistent coach. Consistent at winning in the regular season and losing in the off season. Or losing in the postseason. That can't happen. But I want to point this out. While this front office has done a fantastic job of bringing scorers to Utah, they have not done a good job about bringing defensively minded players to this organization. And I feel like 3 years ago, you had Jay Crowder. Absolutely fantastic on defense. He brought the energy. He was just, he's hard to get by. That, I feel like, you add a guy like Jay Crowder. Daniel House is kind of similar, but he just doesn't have the body for that. You add Jay Crowder onto this Utah Jazz team that we had this year, I think the results might be a little different. My case for Quin Snyder, I personally don't think that there is another coach on the current market that would do a better job than Quin Snyder. And look, things are going to change over this offseason. Coaches are going to leave, but the good coaches that you would want are probably not going to be out of their situations. So I propose, and obviously this is going to be what a lot of people say, you focus on bringing perimeter defenders to Utah and you hold on to Quin Snyder. We've seen what his good defenses can do. First in defensive rating for several years throughout the season. He can recreate that, but he can't if he has guys like Donovan Mitchell, Royce O'Neal, who has taken a dramatic step down this season. It can't happen. He has to have guys like what he has to have perimeter defenders. That's what you have to say.
So what you're saying is the only way to keep Quin Snyder is if we rebuild.
Yeah, absolutely. And I honestly,
if we don't.
And here, let me just say this before you get into your stuff.
Sure.
So one thing about the NBA that you have to understand, and this is for everybody, is that players deteriorate, right? As you go further in your career, you obviously don't have the same physical presence that you did when you came into the league. That's true for basically every NBA player. Some people seem to defy it, such as LeBron, but he still is not the same guy who played in Miami, right? Now, we look at coaches. coaches do not deteriorate as much. In fact, I believe you get smarter. The one thing that deteriorates about a coach, and I believe that this is true for almost every level of basketball, whether it's college, whether it's pro, whether it's overseas pro. As you get older, you lose your connection to the players, and you lose the respect of your players sometimes, and you lose the culture that had been there before. Look, here's what I'm going to tell you. The teams in previous years seemed to adjust at a very high rate, right? When we were in the playoffs against Oklahoma, against the Thunder, we adjusted, and we did it fast, and we kicked the crap out of them.
I feel like that was the best playoff series.
And guess what? That team loved each other, and they loved Quin Snyder. There is obviously rifts in this team now. And I don't think it's entirely because of Quin Snyder, but I think that the culture is not as good. I think that there is just, I feel like Rudy and Donovan, I feel like they've been beefing this entire year, and I feel like it's just taken a giant hit to this culture. I think that if he can get fresh guys into his system, and people want to play for Quin Snyder. It's not like they don't want to play for him. That's been said for years and years and years. Players want to play for Quin Snyder, but they don't want to play in Utah. It's going to have to be by trades, but you have to get guys in here who are willing and ready and like they're down to go after it, and they want to build a positive culture here in Utah.
So I think there's 3 ways Utah can go about this rebuild. I think there's the complete rebuild where you trade both Donovan and Gobert. I think there's the trade Donovan, keep Gobert, and I think there's the trade Gobert and keep Donovan. For me, after hearing those points, I'll give it to you. I'll say that if we go by the trade Donovan and Endo, you can keep Snyder for maybe 1 year. But here's my thing: if you're going to completely rebuild, and if you're going to trade, no. I don't listen. I'm gonna say it one way. Take back everything I just said. If the Jazz are going to rebuild in any sort of way, I think Quin Snyder should go. I think Quin Snyder should go if the Jazz fully rebuild. However, if the Jazz decide to keep one of Donovan or Gobert, for this example, we'll give the Jazz keep Gobert, and the Jazz can actually give Quin Snyder some solid perimeter defenders through trades, then you keep him. You give him 1 more year. But you have to promise to give him good perimeter defenders to work with. If he then can't do that, next season he goes.
Sure.
Because you were right. We have seen what he can do. He is a great coach. But a part of me wants to start fresh.
Yeah.
And
hey, look, I do too. But at the same time, I just can't. I feel like we underestimate Quin Snyder a lot because, like, there is not a lot of other coaches in this league who have had this kind of success. But in the playoffs, that's not what matters.
Yes, there has. Mike, whatever his last name is for the Bucks, right?
Budenholzer?
He's not an all-world coach, but he won a championship.
Nah, he's a good freaking coach. He takes mediocre teams to the championship every year. Seriously, yes, he does.
Disagree. Milwaukee's also not a mediocre team. But I'm just saying there's some not great coaching out there that can lead you to an NBA championship. And I firmly believe that. But I think that it's time for a fresh start in Utah. I do. You say the whole thing about the culture. Let's get a culture reset. Let's get a culture change. You know, I get the points about what he's done for us and how he is a good coach. But it's been 6 years of the same old losing first round. And I truly do believe that a rebuild and rebrand of everything might be what's needed, even if it means second, because I truly believe we are never winning a championship with this current state of the Utah Jazz. Sure. So unless you promise to go out and obviously this has to be a rebuild type thing, to go out and put the exact right pieces around his coaching style and his defense, then he's got to go, because otherwise he's not going to get the job done with this team. Especially if Utah decides to keep 1 more year with this court. He's got to go because then it'll just be another first-round exit.
Yeah.
Personally, if you've got a gun to my head and you ask me to keep Quinn or let him go, I think it's time for a fresh start. I say let him go. Do I know who the heck we would hire? No. Which a lot of you will be like, oh, see, that's a terrible reason. Don't fire him then if you don't know. It's time for a reset. Right now, do we really know who we're going to get back if we trade one of Donovan or Gobert, what the future of this team is? Nobody knows right now.
Yeah.
What I do know is this group isn't winning a championship. So unless you go the one route where you keep Gobert, you trade Donovan, O'Neal, and you put the exact right pieces around him that are going to not make Gobert a liability to guard the three, and your perimeter defenders can actually guard the three, then his coaching style doesn't fit for us. Because if he could work with that, the reasons that we've lost in the playoffs would have been fixed already. He hasn't adjusted to it, so unless you can surround him with the right perimeter defenders,
I don't think it's going to happen, yeah. I do want to point this out, though. When you are a good coach in the NBA, you are obviously going to have options if you leave a team. But I want to point this out. We could say we want to get rid of Quin Snyder, but why would other teams want him if it's like that, right? He's a good coach. He's a good coach, exactly. And look, I want to point this out. We can say we want to get rid of him all we want, but until we find a guy who I think can be a better coach than him, then I don't think I want to get rid of him. Because guess what? I don't believe with any part of my heart that Terry Stotts is a better coach than Quin Snyder. Right. I don't believe with any part of my heart that Doc Rivers is a better coach than Quin Snyder. Any part of my heart. He has had more talent than Quin Snyder has ever had. Look,
so get
and
him
he has
right
it.
Pieces, then.
So get him the right pieces. But how do you do that?
He's not built to coach this team.
No, he's not. He's not built to coach in Utah. Quin Snyder is built to coach a team that has unlimited talent. That is why the Lakers are looking at him. That is why the Spurs, the Spurs aren't looking at him because of that. The Spurs are looking at him because Greg Popovich, in my opinion, pretty much one of the best coaches in NBA history, is looking at him as a replacement for the Spurs franchise after Pop retires. That's for a reason. He's a good freaking coach. And look, you put the right pieces with him, then he can do some serious damage. But I just don't think it's going to happen here. I don't. Yeah.
I just think I think what he's done for us is great. He's definitely not a coach that I dislike, but I always appreciate everything he did. I just think it's time for the reset button to be hit in Utah, even if it means sucking for the next year, even if it means somewhat not finding the right coaches. I just don't believe him as a coach, and this group as a player.
Yeah, and look,
a championship.
It's never not a good idea to go look at the college game and say, hey, who has performed really well in college and is young enough that they could show development? They're not like a 60-year-old coach. We can't have that. Quin Snyder is at this perfect age right now where he can still relate with players but not be like super old. We have to find a guy in college who's on his way up, but he's not already there. Because if you find a guy who's already there, he's going to get complacent, in my opinion. So we'll see.
And if the Jazz do make a move or Quin Snyder makes a move, he's got interest from a lot of teams. If Quin Snyder decides to, I think Utah will keep him if they want. But does Quin Snyder want to stay with Utah? There's also that. And so if Quin Snyder does leave Utah, we'll have videos out on who the Jazz should target if Quin Snyder does leave. But hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment down your thoughts if you think Quin Snyder should remain with the Utah Jazz or not, or if you guys have any ideas for who the Jazz would hire after, make sure to leave that in the comment section below. Make sure to smash up the like button and hit that subscribe button for more Utah Jazz offseason content here on the Jazz. So we'll be posting all offseason long. So we'll see y'all in the next one.